this cover looks interesting. Akira Amano. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. I guess one chapter couldn't hurt. I swear this happens every time I find a really good one. One of my favorite genres that I enjoy reading besides fantasy, sci-fi, and the supernatural is the mystery genre. Maybe it's because of the unknown of each story/case that makes me ask questions, seeing clues or hints along with the protagonist, make me come up with theories, and when it's eventually revealed, it could come off as a surprise and make me want to go back and pay more attention to the hints the writers drop. There are good examples to do this, and then there are bad ones. But what probably makes a good mystery to me is during the telling of the sequence of events, every clue that was uncovered is being pieced together to make a clear and satisfying puzzle. And that's what drove me into reading Ron Kamonohashi, Deranged Detective. Already the title sounds interesting. It sounds like an eccentric madman that goes crazy solving mysteries. So let's get started, shall we? The series was created by Akira Amano, a mangaka who is well known for her manga anime shonen series Hitman Reborn, and to a lesser extent ED Live, two manga that I'm definitely going to be covering in the future. The series was launched in Shonen Jump in October 2020, and after 96 chapters, ended the first half of the story, going on hiatus for a while and returning during June 2023, where its current release chapters are a total of 109 as of the time of this recording, along with having an anime adaptation that is currently airing. So the first chapter starts by introducing one of the protagonists, Ron Kamonohashi, who was a student at Detective Training Alchemy Blue, which is the world's most prestigious academy for training detectives. Both the staff and his peers were astonished that he solved an unsolvable crime, and even one of the teachers questioned if he could clear all the world's unsolved mysteries. It is then he announced that he will offer his exceptional talents as a lifelong detective. We then cut to 5 years later, where we get introduced to our second protagonist, Totomaru Ishiki, who was ordered to go home by his boss, despite Totomaru insisting he can help with the serial killer case. But his boss can't deal with having incompetent guys hanging around, so she continues to put her foot down. We learn that despite being very terrible doing his job on the investigation team, he still wants to help find the culprit and make the city a little less scary for people. Then this guy, who on the wiki is called Kiku, suggests to Totomaru that there might be someone who can solve this case. A private detective, you could say, and sends him to an address where the detective lives. He even gave Totomaru a picture. And what do you know? It's Ron! Let's see how he's doing after 5 years. Well, it could have been worse. Yeah, looks like the past 5 years hasn't been going so well for Ron, as he's in a depressing slump. His room is barren, he doesn't have TV or internet access, and the only company he has is his cat, which was given to him as a present from Kiku. Basically, he's a shut-in who had a terrible tragedy happen to him and hit rock bottom afterwards, trying to keep himself occupied by doing stuff like naming every hair on his arms and creating a diagram from that, or knitting a 100-meter scarf. I wonder if you can use that as a blanket. Anyways, Totomaru asks for Ron for help on the case, but Ron keeps interrupting him, saying that Totomaru wasn't the first one to come and ask for help. As in the past, Kiku sent young, bright, optimistic officers over to Ron in hopes of being Ron's partner, but he broke his noses and sent them packing, wondering why Kiku sent them in the first place when he knows why he stopped doing detective work in the first place. Totomaru continues to try to ask Ron for help, but Ron earplugs him out, quite literally, saying that he doesn't want to hear anything about the case. And even smacking Totomaru's phone out of his hand when his boss called him. The phone got turned on speaker, and his boss, named Amamiya, tells Totomaru that there's been a sixth victim over in Shibuya at Kazana Park, and she wants Totomaru to go over there, mostly because he's the closest one in that area. Totomaru tries to leave, but after hearing the call about the case, Ron starts to stand up, shivers all over his body, stating that he does want to solve mysteries for a living as he feels that it's his calling, but due to a fatal flaw that was discovered at his school, he couldn't continue working as a detective. That's why he's a shut-in with no access to outside information, as even watching or listening about an ongoing case will bring out the overwhelming urge to solve it himself. With that explanation out of the way, Totomaru decides that he should bring Ron with him to the case, saying that there's nothing more than saving people's lives and stopping a serial killer, and no matter what, he'll support Ron. Ron reluctantly agrees, warning Totomaru to never take his eyes off him, and both of them run to the scene of the crime. When they get there, an officer is waiting for them, giving some information about the victim and his last appearance. Then Ron proceeds to lay down next to the corpse and talk to it like it's alive. So he's a necromancer! I'm kidding, but he does find vital clues on the body about the serial killer's patterns, such as none of them have visible wounds, no alcohol or drugs in their systems, their valuables were stolen, and were discovered drowned in places without water. The problem is that despite the victims being all men, none of them have anything in common, as the bodies were headed into different social gatherings all over the place in that area. And Totomaru mentions that even with the limited area space, there's no way that area where large men could be drowned without any resistance. Then Ron dramatically sweeps his bangs, saying that there's a place like that and he solved the mystery. But first, they need a plan. Ron borrows money from Totomaru and dresses him up in designer clothes to go undercover. Then Ron suggests that Totomaru needs a haircut and stands outside the barbershop to wait on him, drinking brown sugar syrup? Is that even edible? Anyway, Totomaru gets settled in and the barber starts to fill the sink with water. Water that suspiciously knocked Totomaru out. And before the barber could do anything else, Ron enters the shop proclaiming that the serial killer is the barber. And Totomaru is okay too. He was asked by Ron to hold his breath for a minute while the sink was being filled. And that sink is the murder method the barber used, as it is filled with oxygen-defined air, where if a person takes one breath of that air, they'll faint. And the way Ron figured it out, it was the barber, was how all the victims had longish hair and undyed roots. Plus, if you're going to a social gathering and want to look good, you go to the barber. And the barber chooses first-time wealthy customers as his targets so the crime wouldn't be traced back to him. On top of that, he talks to his customers to see if they live alone and if they mention they're going to the barber to anyone else. Add on to the fact that the shop was the only one that you couldn't see from the outside, and you got yourself enough evidence to arrest this guy. Evidence that was recorded onto Totomaru's phone. The barber makes a hasty retreat to the rooftop but gets blocked off. Totomaru questioned why go through all the trouble of murdering 6 people, and the answer was simple: a grudge. The barber was tricked in the past by some rich people and ended up in debt, so in revenge, killed rich targets. Then something weird happens as Ron, in a trace-like state, asks the barber to off himself by jumping off the roof, saying that those who make light of others' lives have no right to exist in this world. And the barber actually listens, almost dying if not for Totomaru jumping after him and catching him. Ron recovers whatever happened to him, feeling guilty that he pressured someone to kill themselves, only for him to be surprised that the culprit is still alive thanks to Totomaru. He questioned why someone would be stupid enough to not only help him but risk his life to save a serial killer without a moment's hesitation. Unfortunately, he doesn't have much time to think on it further, as Totomaru's grip is slipping and is about to fall along with the culprit, so Ron uses some bungee rope and string Totomaru and the culprit's foot back to the ledge, saving them from falling. In the aftermath, Totamaru learns from Ron that his fatal flaw of being a detective is that he pressure kills any culprits he finds, while also having no self-awareness or memory that at the time, given a reason why he was in a trance after finding out the culprit's motives and recovering from it. But thanks to Totamaru, the culprit was alive so he can be arrested, and Ron figured out why Kiku sent Totamaru to him, as he could be the partner that Ron needs after all this time. And so Ron declares that starting today, Totamaru brings him any cases that comes his way, as he will solve them and help him become a famous detective. And that's the first chapter, and already it sets up some things. Ron and Totamaru's partnership, and the mystery behind Ron's tragedy and fatal flaw. Of course, getting to the answer will be hard as there is an antagonistic force behind the incident as they test Ron, but I'll discuss them later on in the video. But before I go further on, there are some things I need to mention. 1. I will only be talking about part 1 of the manga for this review because it's self-contained and somewhat wraps up the main mystery that was introduced. Plus, I want to talk about part 2 when it's finally done, not when it's currently at maybe 5%. 2. There will be mild spoilers for some of the chapters of part 1, so if the summary that I did already sounds interesting to you, I would recommend checking out this video later when you caught up with either part 1 or the current chapter that was released. Or check out the anime with its first season. With that out of the way, let's continue with the rest of the review, starting with the art style. This segment is going to be short as I wish I could say all the things I want to say about the art of Amano-san, but I plan to save most of it for when I cover Reborn. Let's say that compared to when she started on Reborn, it's like night and day. She perfected her art style, and one of the most noticeable things about Amano's style is that her art is very beautiful. Each cover has a watercolor aesthetic that blends the colors so well and has a glow or shine to them. And her character designs, while having realistic body proportions, there's still some exaggeration in the eyes and facial expressions. Even if I couldn't remember Amano-san's name, I would have been able to tell this is her work from similar character designs of the main character. Plus, there are a lot of details in both the hair and clothing, with a lot of fluff in their hair as well as the creases in their clothing. Plus, they have a lot of clothing. Like, I am insanely jealous of how much drip these people have. Where are you shop at? From Ron's shaggy appearance to Totomaru's bland outfit but instant-like face to Ron's eyes when his kill on sight ability activates, there's enough to tell you that it's going to be serious, but there's also going to be some lighthearted stuff in there too. Hey, Editor Max here. When I first started editing this project, I thought I would at least have this done by the deadline that I set for myself, but as you can see in this timestamp that I'm going to put in editing here, I am not done yet. I mean, I am close to being done. Right as of recording right now, I'm editing the final case, but as to like finishing this by my deadline, yeah, no, I can't. So this video will be released in parts. This is part 1 of the video. I will release the second part in a week. I just need to do like some quick edits here and there. It's not like majors like the ones that I'm doing for the final case, but just making sure, everything's, clean and up to, the standards that I set for myself. But anyway, apologies. But the good news is that once I'm done releasing all of the parts for the video, I'm just gonna put them all together in a super long cut. So you'll be getting at least 5 videos, and then a few days later, just like the super cut. So yeah, that's all I got to say, and hope you guys have a good day. Yeah, that's it. Bye!
it out, let it go, let it out. Take a deep breath, deep breath, deep breath.